Hey everybody, welcome back to In Bed with a Millennial. I'm the Millennial Javeda Bay, and this is my bed, and it's a new month, which means I got some new content for you. And I think that y'all are gonna like this because it's a little bit more academic, but it's still sex ed. And you're probably like, Javed, what does that mean? Well, it means that sex ed itself is a lot more than just like the act of sex. Yes, I talk about it plenty. I teach workshops about acts of sex themselves. And I also know and teach a lot more than that. Typically, it is confined to like an academic setting, like a college classroom and things of that nature. But like, you know me, I don't want to gatekeep knowledge. So we're going to explore all of that this month because, I'm in a school mode. I'm like really in it. And I want to share what I'm learning with you because sex ed impacts so many more aspects of our lives and our society than you may realize. Okay, Jave, so what are the different like aspects of life that it impacts? I'm glad you asked. One, let's talk about just like the different types of sex ed you can get. Did you know that there's sex ed that's targeted towards parents so that way they can offer their children like a sex positive environment to grow up so that they are like healthy, confident sexual beings? Yeah, sex positive parenting. That's another way that sex ed is more than just the sex act. But also like looking at like the more macro side of it. Let's talk about how sex ed impacts like our legal system. I know, you're probably like, Javette, girl, what? Sex ed has nothing to do with laws. I'm going to push back on that and let you know that if you learned a little bit more about sex ed, you might have a better lens to understand how laws are written and how they reinforce aspects of sexuality like gender and gender roles and things of that nature because they do. So sex ed can help you to better understand and be like, yo, actually, I don't want to vote for this law. This law is just like really reinforcing negative stereotypes about gender roles. Like, I don't support this. Like, why would we do this? Who is this serving? It's going to give you like that critical lens to really like be an engaged citizen. So yeah, it touches a lot more. Also, sex education in terms of like our legal system can help you better understand laws that are put into place that affect the LGBTQIA plus community. Because as we know, most school systems don't have like LGBTQ history. And a lot of people don't know where to turn for that information. Sex ed is usually the place where people can get historical information as it pertains to the LGBTQIA plus. And that's extremely important in understanding where the laws that we're talking about now and like are up for debate and voting on, how they have come to be what they are and what influenced them. So yeah, sex ed is also a little bit of history. And if you're like, Jay, I don't like history. I was you all through undergrad. I honestly slept through every history class I had to take. And now being like further in higher education, I recognize like you don't like the crap history we were given, but I bet you would be mind blown if you got real history that included all the stuff that we never got taught. You'd be like, holy cow, I had no idea about this. I didn't know that this was the reason that this was this way. So maybe you do like history, just not the history you've been getting. Okay, Jave, so laws. Yeah, that's probably it though, right? Wrong. Sex education can also impact the medical profession. And no, I don't mean like if you have sex ed, you can be a doctor. You should have sex ed if you were trying to become a doctor. But I more so mean like if you understand different aspects of sex education, then you can understand the medical profession a little bit better. Some examples of this: if you understand like actual contraceptives, before like going into a doctor's office, you can make a more informed decision because we all know that not every doctor is going to give you every option you have about contraceptives. So sex ed can help you with that. Sex ed can also explain to you what's going on in the body because somebody may or may not have told you that information before. And that's for everybody, not just people that have menstrual cycles, but everyone should know what a menstrual cycle is like, what happens, understanding it fully. Also, sex ed, again, with the history, will give you that background information on how the sector of gynecology became what it is today and why the things happen the way they happen, aka why we go through like colposcopies without any anesthesia or any like numbing or anything, or like why there's literally no sense of like pain mediation for any gynecological procedures. Yeah, sex ed hitting those history pieces gives you that information and you understand it. Also, sex ed is probably one of the only areas that is going to address like all the things that are not being taught to doctors that impact folks when they go into a doctor's office. Like, why is it that if you go to the doctor's office for something that is impacting your sexuality, they're like, oh, actually, I broke a bone and I can't really engage in activity the way I used to. Like, what can I do? Most doctors are not trained on how things impact sex lives. Sex ed can help fill that gap. And lastly, you have definitely probably heard me say this before. If you have been following me for a minute, if you watch any of my previous content, I have said this loud and louder, even more times than I can count. But I wholeheartedly believe that sex ed is a pillar of social justice. So engaging in sex ed that's not just about the act of sex also helps you to become a more engaged citizen in terms of social activism and actually fighting for change and wanting to enact it in our society so that everyone gets to experience like the life chances that they want to experience. And it's in a lot of different ways. You're probably like, Javay, I have never thought of like sex ed as being something that's gonna like change the world for the better. You might not have thought of it yet, but you about to after this month, because understanding sex ed at a deeper level gives you a critical lens, again, to think about the ways things are showing up in our society, how we're interacting with them, how we are standing behind different movements and different people. There's so much that sex ed can do for us all. And it's not just make sure that we're really better in the bedroom. Yes, it can do that. It can really enhance pleasure in your life. And it also can enhance all these other areas of just like knowledge and information that you're holding. So if you want to know any of those things, if you're like, Javay, my interest is piqued. The medical field, sex ed. Never thought about it. Javay, I'm a lawyer. What are you talking about? I don't think sex ed impacts it. Well, baby boo, buckle up, because we're going to town this month. So the moral of that story is you better subscribe to this YouTube channel because you're not going to want to miss it. We're going to have some riveting conversations. You definitely want to be following me on social media because supplemental information on social media, and definitely subscribe to my email newsletter because though this is all going to be rooted in academicness, social media platforms just like love to hate on sex educators. So subscribe to that email newsletter. And get ready to learn. I'm taking you to school, baby, because this is what I do. She's training to be a professor. So come along for the ride and bring your friends. Literally hit up everybody. Send in this video. Be like, yo, you gotta check out Javay's content this month. She is really opening my eyes. Send this to them. And yeah, until next time, my friends, I'm gonna see you later. Deuces.